So we're on Daf Tzadi Vav, towards the top. No, towards the bottom, excuse me. Yeah. See how many? Oh, we're going to count up from the bottom of Tzadi Vav and Aleph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines up. Itmar Nami, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Yesh Lo Get. So we're talking about the status of a Yavam who's a Katan. He's 9 years old. And we said that if he does either Bia or Maimer with the Yavama, then he passes her and all the other brothers. What about if he gives her a get? Now, the Rabbanan considered the get as a replacement for Chalitza. So we have two categories here. Now, if I had time, I'd write this on the board. You've got Bia D'Oraisa, and you have Maimer D'Rabbanan. Because Isha Niknes B'Shlosha Drachim, in the case of Yevamot, there's only one way that you can be Kona on a D'Oraisa level of Yevamot, that's through Bia. And the Rabbanan added Kesef and Shtar, which is called Maimer. Then, on the other side of this chart, we have Chalitza. And Chalitza generates an Isa on the Achim, which is an Isa D'Oraisa of, let's say, Eishis Ach, an Erev Gemura D'Oraisa. And the Rabbanan extended it to include a get. So it's a very weird kind of situation where a Yavam gives the Yavama a get. Now, since we said that Maimar is the rabbinic extension of Bia, and we said that a Katan, through his Bia with the Yavama, passes the Yavama on the Achim, now the Rabbanan, we can extend that to Maimar. Not 100%, because it's different between, we contrasted in our Mishnah the Maimar of a Gadol to the Maimar of a Katan Ben Tes, but nevertheless, the Maimar Ben Tes, which is called Mitchila, is going to generate a psul on the Ach. And now we go on to the second tier, the second level, and that's Chalitza. And now we're extending Mirabanan, the status of Chalitza, to the status of Get. That even if, now let's talk about a Katan, even if a Katan gave a Get to the Yavama, that would pass on the Achim. And that's halacha that Rabbi Yehuda transmitted in the name of Shmuel. Now this is a little bit strange. The word v'chein usually in Talmud means an equation, an analogy. But here that's not what it means. Because Rav Tachlifa, as opposed to Rav Yehuda Shmuel in the previous statement, is talking about Maimar. A Katan's Maimar is an extension of a Katan's Bia on the Rabbanan level. But the very fact that Rav Tachlifa left out Get indicates that he would not accept the equation between Get and Chalitza in the case of a Katan Ben Tes. He's only willing to accept the rabbinic extension of Bia to Maimar in the case of a Katan Ben Tes. So the word v'chein here is a little bit misleading. Tanya nami hochi, yesh lo get v'yesh lo Maimar divrei Rabbi Meir. Which means that Rabbi Meir accepted the view of Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel, or if you want to say it the other way around, Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel was standing on the shoulders of Rabbi Meir, who extended the status or the viability, the legal significance, and power of a katan to pass on the achim to include even a get. Yesh lo get v'yesh lo maimar.
We say that chalitza. How can the
Chalitza,
so how can the get be valid?
The Rabbanan are saying that on a rabbinic level, get accomplishes exactly what chalitza on a deraisa level accomplishes.
So the deraisa is much stronger than the Rabbanan.
Correct.
So why would you say that the get is then valid? Can be valid.
Well, I'm not sure if I understand you. The mechanism of rabbinic xeros and syagim is to take something on a deraisa level and extend it because there's another case which is similar. What is the purpose of a get and what is the purpose of chalitza? Both serve the same purpose. What chalitza does to a yavama, get does to an eshes ish. So the Rabbanan saw a very striking parallel between chalitza and get. So what they did was they imposed the regulations that apply to regular issues onto a yibum situation, a yavama situation. So just like maimar, which is now a rabbinic substitute for bia in the case of yavama, get is a rabbinic substitute for chalitza. I don't mean a substitute, that's a very bad word, so I apologize for using the word substitute. But what I mean to say is that whatever operates in eshes ish, whether it's to create ishes or to remove ishes, on a rabbinic level, is going to apply to a yibum situation. And Maimer is going to be considered as if he was miyabim or only the Rabbanan, and therefore get is considered as if he was choletzar, only midrabanan. Because what we're doing is we're taking ishus and we're superimposing the laws of ishus, midrabanan, onto yibum. Which means that Maimar replaces Yibum, Yibum meaning beer, on a Drabanan level. And therefore, to the same extent that beer generates a psul on the other Achim, when one of the Achim was Baalel, so too get replaces Chalitza when one of the Achim gave her a get. That's the opinion of Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda Mishmuel, standing on the shoulders of Rabbi Meir, accept that same ruling of Rabbi Meir, that to the same extent that Chalitza works on a Doraisa level, get works on a Drabanan level. Now, what that means is going to split into two. It's going to apply to the Achim in one way and to the Ben Tes in another way. In the case of the Achim, it would apply reciprocally. What do I mean? You could have get liachar get. Let's say the two Achim are Reuven and Shimon. Reuven gave a get to the Yavama. Now Shimon gave a get to the Yavama. Yesterday I used the term ping pong, meaning it works in both directions. So just like the get of Reuven would passel her to Shimon, the other Ach, the other Yavam, so too, if Shimon subsequent to Reuven's get delivers a get to the Yavama, that reciprocally passels her to Reuven. So Reuven has the power to passel her to Shimon, and Shimon now has a reverse power to passel her to Reuven. In the case of Ben Tes, it doesn't work like that. A Ben Tes, if he, as we say in Yiddish, the tzii gets there first, then his mimer, for example, and now we're applying it to get, he's well going to Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, will passel her to the other Achim. But if the other Achim started with either mimer or get, then the subsequent mimer or get of the katan does not have the power. It's like an inferior, in heavyweight champions, right? So you have the heavyweight, and that's the gedolim, and then you have the lightweight. There's even a lower level of boxing. Isn't there a featherweight or something? So the katan's maimar or get is like featherweight, It cannot impose and generate a psul on the achin unless it got there first. That's the mechanism. The deeper meaning to this, I don't know. That's already requires more lumps. So the Gemara immediately asks, Sava Rabbi Meir Yeshlo get? Did we go that far in terms of recognizing not just the mimer of a katan, but even the get of a katan? Is Rabbi Meir committed to make that jump or that extension such that not only the mimer of a katan passes her onto the akhir, but even the get for Asanya? What are we going to do with the following price? Asu bias ben tesha kemaimer v'gadol. The Rabbanan said, this is what you call a takana de Rabbanan, that the bia of a katan, in terms of its generating an isser on the achin, the psul on the achin, is like mimer of a gadol. And by the way, what I derive from this Gemara, which I was unaware of yesterday, is that the bia of a katan, with regard to Yibum, is only the Rabbanan. Yesterday, I assumed, and I'm still, despite this Gemara, I'm still dogel, in that shita that the Yibum of a katan, if he's bent tespio method, is going to be doraisa. But right now we see clearly that it's ultra rabbanan, because the Brisa is equating the bia of a katan with the mimer of a gadol. Mimer of a gadol is only the rabbanan. Rabbi Meir Omer, asu chalitzas ben tesha ki get the gadol. Right, again, we have this other side of the equation, namely chalitza and get. And we know that the chalitza of the gadol certainly generates a psul, that's the oraisa. Now we can extend it to Rabbanan to the get of a gadol. But yet it's only the chalitza of a katan that has the status of the get of a gadol. The Isa lisnei git kigita. Rabbi Meir should have told me a greater chiddush. He should have gone a step further. He should have said, "Asu chalitz." Just 1 second. What should have said? Lisnei gita. He should have said that we equate the chalitz of a bentes with the get of a bentes, and that would have indicated that the get of a bentes passes the Yevama onto the brothers in the same way that chalitza of a bentes passes or the Yevama onto the brothers. One second, let me just digest. Lisnei kigito. If Rabbi Meir holds that the get of a katan passes the Yevama, why did he say that the chalitza of a katan is equivalent? It's like the get of a gadol. He should have said the chalitza of a bentes is kigito. I'm not sure. I must be missing something here. Today is not so much my good day. Here David came to join us. We have no clue what his plans are, and we want to impress him that this is a great shir, and yet every single time I seem to disappoint him. So today is not a good day for me. I couldn't figure out how you could have a korban above with tumah and the basar is taught. Right? Now I have a bigger problem. The Gemara is now equating get with chalitza to say that just like get would passel, so too chalitza would passel. That doesn't make any sense to me. Should have gone the other way around. It's just like chalitza passels, so too get passel. You have a footnote anywhere there in your article?
It just says that, the true point about Mayor that the miners get disqualifies the brothers. So why does he equate a miner's chalitza with a get of an adult?
Say it again slowly. Why does he what?
So why does he equate a miner's chalitza with a get of an adult? Say, listen, Kugito, to teach that the cotton's chalitza is like the cotton's get.
Same question. I'm still in the dark. What do you mean the cotton's chalitza is like his get? I would have said that the cotton's get is like chalitza. Chalitza is the original. Get is the application.
But maybe he's taking the term, maybe the third one first, and then the bottom one second.
Right? There's the ikar and the tafel, right? So you would never say that the ikar is like the tafel. You would say the tafel is like the ikar. You know, if chalitza is up there, it might even be doraisa, and get is down here. Why are we saying that he should have equated chalitza to get? He should have equated get to chalitza.
I don't know. I mean, because first said chalitza to the get of a gadol, you're saying, well, now he's chalitza to the get of a chata, and he really would have said it the other way around. Said the get of the chata is the same as the piece of the chata.
That's what I thought you were saying. But it says here, lisne kigito, meaning he should have said that the chalitza is like the get. No, why is the Gemara using that language? All right, I don't know. I'm not sure if I have to throw in the towel at this point, but it does bother me.
I mean,
let me just read. He has a footnote in the name of the Marsha. I don't know if you have such.
That it gets given by an adult Yovam, she still has to have it. Get does not.
Correct, because get is only D'Rabbanan.
Yes.
So B'Daraisa get is meaningless. She certainly cannot marry anyone without chalitza. That we all understand. In fact, right, and even the psul on the other brothers is only D'Rabbanan. So you have to keep in mind here that as soon as we get to Maimer and get, and then even to Ben Test, even in the case of Bia, we're talking about D'Rabbanan. So she always is gonna have chalitza before she gets married. But I just want to point out here, he quotes a Marsha. I don't know if this is going to further confuse me, or sometimes you ask another kasha and you get a teretz. L'chora, he says, Hoya la Gemara l'taritz Rabbi Meir nokat shachalitza ikiget shel gadol mishum sherotza lashmienu shechalitza poseles gam besof k'mo get shel gadol. V'lo k'mo get shel katan aposel rak l'chatchila, rak l'tchila. He's offering an answer to the Gemara's kasha, and the reason why Rabbi Meir mentions that the chalitza is not kigito, but rather get shel gadol, is to tell me a chiddush that chalitza apostles like a get, both betchila and besof. Whereas if he would have equated chalitza to a get shel katan, we would have had the mistaken impression that chalitza only apostles betchila, not besof. In other words, the Marsha is assuming, and I think he's again intuitively he doesn't need my askama, but he's 100% right, that chalitza is like Maimah. Right, and Maimer passes both betchila and besof, so chalitza also passes both betchila and besof, and therefore the Gemara could have easily answered here that when Rabbi Meir says that chalitza of a katan is like the get of a gadol, he means to tell you that the chalitza of a katan passes even besof, like the get of a gadol. Do you follow my point? Right. In the case of a get, a get like Maimer of a gadol passes both betchila and besov. Chalitza passes both betchila and besov. So therefore, when Rabbi Meir set up an equation of chalitzas katan to the get of a gadol, what he wanted to be machadish was that just like the get of a gadol passes both betchila and besov, so too the chalitza of a katan passes both betchila and besov. But if you ask me what would be the status of the get of a katan, the get of a katan would only pass betchila but not besov. But the Gemara drew a much more far-reaching conclusion, namely that according to Rabbi Meir, the get of a katan doesn't even pass betchila. That's not so. Rabbi Meir would hold the get of a katan is passing betchila. Why did he equate the chalitza of a katan with the get of a gadol? To teach you a chiddush that the chalitza of a katan, like the get of a gadol, passes bein betchila bein besov. But now ask me the question: what's the status of the get of a katan? It could be the get of a katan, and that's what Meir Lishitaso would pass betchila, not besov. Amar Avhuna b'rei Rav Yeshua Isle, which means that Rabbi Meir definitely accepts the position that the get of a katan is posted. But vizuta means on a lower level, what we call lightweight, right? So we thought that when Rabbi Meir says the get of a katan is posel, which was the brisa that we learned earlier, yesh lo get v'yesh lo maimer, we thought that the get of a katan has the same status as the get of a gadol. That's not so. Says Rav Huna, vizuta. The get of a katan, even though it does pass al yachin, but it's not on the same level as the get of a gadol. And therefore, Rabbi Meir equated the chalitza of a katan to the get of a gadol. This sounds very similar to the Maharsha. Lomar lecha shechalitzas katan he get shel gadol, v'adifa mi get shel katan. So he doesn't flesh out exactly what the nafkamina is. Oh, that's the next piece of Gemara. Right, now the Gemara is trying to embellish this idea that the get of a katan is weaker than the get of a gadol. And now the Gemara introduces the machlokas between Rav Gamliel and the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan hold that each get achar get, like we said before, that if there are two Yevamim, then each one, Reuven and Shimon, could have a reciprocal psul with a get liachar get. That's the sheet of the Rabbanan. Rav Gamliel denies. Rav Gamliel holds that ain't get liachar get, which means that if one of the achim gave a get to the Yevama and passes on the other achim, another get of one of the other achim is meaningless. It doesn't register at all. So Liram Gamliel Diomar ain't get achar get. So I'm going to read just part of the Masechet because I'm going to try not to confuse us. He writes, Shnei achim shenosnu get bozecher zel livama achas. That was the simple way. There's a more complicated case where there are two Yevamos and he gives two gittin to both of the Yevamos. But let's leave that out. Let's just talk about the case that we're familiar with, where there are two brothers, one Yevama, and each brother gave her a get in sequence. Ein haget choshev get. Lesser es ha nosein bikrovosel. Another dimension to the sugya. Ein I get a sheni choshev get Asor Esanus. Hani Mili Bigodol Acher Godol Koton Acher Koton Godol Acher Koton Mahani. Sure why he switches it from psul. Till now, we were discussing. Let's go back a moment to the Mishnah. And the Mishnah said, the Mishnah says that Ben Teisha Shon B'Yom Echad, Hu Posel Al Yidei Ach. V'Achim Poslim Al Yod. V'Achim Poslim Ila Uba Uso. He says, Gamim Osu Bo Mamar. Also Bo Mamar. So he says, Ben Teisha Shana B'Yomech Shabal Yivimto Pasal Es HaYevama B'Bi Aso Al Yidei Ache B'Shvil HaAke V'Eino Mershoim L'Yavmo V'Chenim Asu Ba Maimar Nosnu Get Al Choltu Yevama Al Yidei Kach Al HaKoton V'Aso Lo L'Yavmo. What Bein B'Tchila Bein B'Sof Yeah, he says here explicitly, Tegu Chacham Shegam Al Yidei Maimar Tehei Neseres Al Shara Af. So what Basof? I thought Basof means that he generates an Isur even on the Ach that did the first Maimar. Did I make a mistake about that? So again, we're saying Mimer is being so. Now we're saying Koitra Galil ain't get liachar get. I mean, let me just oversimplify it just to get past the hurdle here. Ain't get liachar get means that the second get is not valid, meaning it doesn't have any halachic repercussions. He's saying that it doesn't have any halachic repercussions vis-a-vis the second brother who gave the second get. I thought it meant it doesn't have any repercussions vis-a-vis the first ach to give the get. Okay, but either way, it means that ain't get liachar get. Okay. Hani mili. When do we apply the rule of ain't get liachar get? That's big gadol. Yavam who gave the first get is a gadol. He gave a get to the Yevama. Achar gadol. So both the first no sin I get and the second no sin I get were both gadol. Okay, so the second get is meaningless. The katan, achar katan, there are two brothers that are both 9 years old, and the first one gave her a get. That get accomplishes whatever it accomplishes, but the second get of the other katan accomplishes nothing. And the exception to that is going to be where the katan gave a get and then a gadol gave a get. Aval gadol li achar katan mahani. Which means that even though the katan gave the get first, and you would have thought the get of the gadol subsequently is meaningless, no. The get of the gadol is valid, so to speak. Which he says means it has an implication for the no sin I get. So he's saying that the get of a gadol is more powerful than the get of a katan. Because on the one hand, the get of a katan after we just say that the get of a katan we're trying to figure out why the get of a katan, how this expresses itself, that the get of a katan is inferior to the get of a gadol. Aval gadol achar katan mahani. Whereas the get of a katan after the preceding get of the gadol is meaningless, the get of a gadol after the get of a katan is meaningful. And again, he's learning here, which is new to me, that when we say that a get is meaningful, we mean as far as the person who gave the get. So that even though the cotton gave the get first, when the gadol subsequently gives her a get, it has implications for the no sin get, for the gadol. And then he writes, Mishum shel get shel gadol, yesh tokef yoser man shel get shel katan. How does this express itself that the get of a gadol is more powerful than the get of a katan? Shekain ein koach beget shel katan. Lafkias kol hazika. Lafkias kol hazika. Here, the get does not remove her status as the Yevama and her so-called marriage relationship with the Yevamim, and that's why the gadol could, subsequent to the katan, give a get, and that get will be valid. Because the get of the katan, which was first, does not completely remove the zika. And therefore, there still is a remnant of zika even after the katan delivered the get, such that now the get of a gadol is meaningful subsequent to the get of a katan. If there was something left over, the issue is such that now there would be a valid get delivered by the gadol subsequent to the katan. The get of a katan is not meaningful after the get of a gadol. But what do we say in katan liachar katan? We said that the get of a katan after a katan is meaningful. Didn't we say that? Odif gito shel gadol me'asher gito shel katan. Sheba'od shegito shel katan eino moel achar gito shel katan. How does he know that? So again, a get of a gadol is meaningful after the get of a katan. Get of a katan is not meaningful after the get of a katan. Therefore, Rabbi Meir equated chalitza of a katan with a get shel gadol, not with a get shel katan, because chalitza's katan is more powerful, and it's like the get of a gadol. So chalitza's katan will be effective after the get of a katan. The get of a gadol is effective after the get of a katan. We're putting chalitza on a higher level. The chalitza of a katan is effective; it's meaningful even afterwards. But the get afterwards is not meaningful. Get shel gadol lo yoel achar chalitza sakatan. Because chalitza sakatan has the same status as the get of a gadol. So that worked out very well according to Rav Gamliel. Now, l'Rabbanon di amr yesh get achar get. So you have two brothers, and each one in sequence gave a get to the same Yevama. Is the second get, according to Rabbanan, is meaningful. It's effective. But even so, even according to the Rabbanan, the get of a gadol is superior to that of a get of a katan, because hani mili, when did the Rabbanan operate with the mechanics of yesh get achar get? That's the gadol achar gadol. Oh, the katan achar katan. Avol katan achar gadol loma. Even Rabbi Meir agrees that the get of a katan is ineffective after the get of a gadol. So this Yevama is not considered the grusha of the katan, even though the katan delivered our get. There's no koch of a get of a katan after the get of a gadol. That's why Rabbi Meir, when he spoke about chalitzas katan, he jacked it up and he said it's like the get of a gadol. He didn't say it's like a get of a gadol, because the chalitza of a katan has the same power as the get of a gadol, as far as this din of get liachar get. So he ends here by saying chalitzas hakatan mo'ilo gam achar get shel gadol. Because we said that a get shel gadol, according to Rabbi Meir, is mo'il achar get shel gadol. Yesh get liachar get. So therefore, Rabbi Meir equates chalitza of a katan to the get of a gadol. So just the bottom line is that chalitzas hakatan is not similar to the get of a katan, but rather it's equivalent to the get of a gadol. And that's true whether you're like Rabbi Gamliel or like Rambam. And then, so tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, I may review this a little bit with you, but we're going to start officially the Mishnah on the top of Sadi Vav. Okay, then, so let me wish you a great day. Thank you so much.